2001, A Space Odyssey. The year that began our first step into the future.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Although it was a little bit different than what the Jetsons predicted. After the scandalous end of the Clinton administration and an almost as scandalous election process to nominate the first president of the 21st century, Americans were hoping that the 2000s would be a bit less chaotic and more like Star Trek.
Who wants to counteract paradise, Jim boy?
Hey, we just survived the Y2K bug, so anything was possible. However, all of that optimism for the new millennium evaporated come September. But it wasn't all dark. Consumers got their first taste of some exciting new gadgets from Apple and Microsoft. We got to see Christopher Walken dance on a ceiling, Earthlings got an unprecedented view of their closest neighbor, and there were even some hobbits running around in there too.
It's wonderful to see you, Gandalf!
We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, and entertainment, and all that was weird in the 2000s. This is Timeline. Get ready, because this one is all about 2001. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below your favorite 2000s memory. Now, it's time for the dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the Mark Wahlberg one. Ringing in the new year, Greece adopted the euro and became the 12th Eurozone country on the 1st of January.
It's a big cost, this transformation from the Greek drachma to euro, but this is the cost for the time.
The decision added momentum and stability to the effort to make a European Union, and also made Greece one of the first countries to launch euro coins and banknotes. But vending machines still spit those out too. 1 week later, Apple launched its digital music platform, iTunes. Today, the App Store and iTunes are a familiar part of daily life for millions of people. But at the time, the sale of digital music seemed like more of a novelty. After all, who the hell wants to listen to music on their computer? It's not like you can carry it around in your pocket everywhere you go. Wikipedia switched its servers on for the first time on January 15th, going online with a simple goal: to be a totally free, open-source encyclopedia for everything. The earliest versions of an online dictionary date back to the early 90s, but Wikipedia's idea of user-edited articles grew out of Nupedia, a more structured online dictionary project that didn't take off.
You guys, I'm really gonna miss this place.
Let's all promise that in 10 years from today, we'll meet again, and we'll see what kind of people we've blossomed into.
Yeah!
What time you want to meet?
Let's meet in the morning so we can make a day of it.
After an unprecedented election that went all the way to the Supreme Court, George W. Bush was sworn in as the 43rd President of the United States on the 20th.
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
But with the new president finally in office after the chaos and confusion of the previous 2 months, Americans were ready for a return to normalcy. But that would be shattered permanently within the coming months.
The main course and the rest of you won't be served until 7 hours later. I guess you wish now you'd fed the rest of me to the dogs.
No, Mason. No, I much prefer you the way you are.
2001 experienced an early bad omen when NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt suffered a fatal crash in the final lap of the Daytona 500 on February 18th.
Undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. We've lost Dale Earnhardt.
With 7 NASCAR Cup championships under his belt and numerous promotions, he was one of the sport's biggest icons, which made his sudden death at age 49 all the more shocking. His son, NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr., was also competing that day, finishing the race just moments after Earnhardt's accident. Rocketing into March, Russian space station Mir ended its tenure in the stars on the 23rd, after spending 15 years in orbit. Its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere was controlled and orchestrated by Roscosmos, Russia's federal space agency. The station landed back on Earth near Fiji, causing debris to fall into the South Pacific Ocean. There may be still some pieces out there, if you want a souvenir. Speaking of falling to Earth, World Championship Wrestling got suplexed for the final time on March 26th, when it was acquired by longtime rival Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation.
I, Vince McMahon, bought my competition. The very fate of WCW is in my hands.
Despite dominating the WWF in ratings and ticket sales for many years, WCW struggled to find footing as professional wrestling began appealing to more adult audiences, and the company became the first casualty of the WWF's growing monopoly. But not everything was going Vince McMahon's way. After a lengthy legal battle with the World Wildlife Foundation, the WWF would be forced to rebrand to World Wrestling Entertainment, or the WWE, just 14 months later.
I never want to hear my brother's name mentioned again.
You're our uncle? I don't see why you won't help him.
You think I want to babysit my brother the rest of my life? Watch out for Gregorio. Take care of Gregorio. Make sure Gregorio knows right from wrong. Not anymore. Machete's not responsible for nobody but Machete.
8 seasons in Japan for the Oryx Blue Wave, Ichiro Suzuki became the first Japanese player to join Major League Baseball. When he suited up for the Seattle Mariners the day after April Fool's Day, the superstar would go on to play a staggering 19 seasons, and today is considered one of the best players in the history of the sport. 5 days later, NASA launched the Mars Odyssey, an unmanned spacecraft sent to monitor the red planet, primarily for traces of water or past life. The probe was sent into space from Cape Canaveral and arrived in Mars's orbit just over 6 months later, on October 24th.
Full rainbow. It's a double rainbow all the way.
Fushigi, I don't know what it is, but it's the coolest thing ever, and I can do it.
This is Fushigi, the magic gravity ball.
With maneuvers like the prayer cross, the enigma, levitation, and so many more. No strings, no tricks. Magic? Maybe. An illusion? You decide.
Orbiting back to sports, Virginia Tech quarterback and general college phenom Michael Vick was selected first overall in the NFL draft by the Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons select Michael Vick, quarterback, Virginia Tech.
And when my name was called, I can't explain it. I wish every kid in America, can experience that feeling.
Vick had recently been named the Big East Rookie of the Year and the Big East Offensive Player of the Year in 1999, and would go on to be a 4-time Pro Bowl player and have his jersey prominently featured in Bad Boys 2. But his promising career would come to a shocking and abrupt end 6 years later, when Vick was sentenced to 21 months in federal prison for his involvement in a dogfighting scandal. After his release, Vick would return to the NFL for several more seasons, ultimately retiring in 2017.
Christopher Walken, did you know that he had a dancing background?
I could tell he just loved dancing, and nobody ever asked him to dance. At a certain point, he just got quiet and he's like, I'm 57 years old and I don't know when I'm going to get to do this again. Well, so lucky.
Excusez-moi. C'est vous? Si, c'est vous, ça.
John Paul II became the first pope to set foot inside a Muslim mosque on the 6th of May. JP II entered the Great Mosque of Damascus, sometimes referred to as the Umayyad Mosque, in the company of a group of Muslim clerics, and then prayed at a shrine of St. John the Baptist. He held nearly 50 meetings between the Catholic Church and the leaders of the Muslim faith over the course of his long tenure as pope, in an effort to decrease tensions between the two faiths. 12 days later, the world of sports suffered another tragedy when a heated football match between Ghana's two most popular teams turned deadly. Riot police filled the Accra Sports Stadium with tear gas after angry fans started throwing chairs onto the pitch. But the exits were all locked, trapping 40,000 panicked fans inside for over an hour. 126 people were crushed or trampled in the ensuing chaos. And the incident remains one of the worst stadium disasters in the history of the sport.
Ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No, layers. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. You get it. We both have layers.
Oh, you both have layers. Oh. Not everybody like onions.
I'm sorry about your father, but he's in a much better place now.
You were so right about that.
Clearly something went terribly wrong.
What do you think, I killed him?
How dare you speak to me that way?
How dare you? I lost him too, Mom!
Shaquille O'Neal came one step closer to his broadcasting career when he and Kobe Bryant led the Los Angeles Lakers to victory in the NBA Finals over Allen Iverson and Dikembe Mutombo's Philadelphia 76ers on June the 5th. Lakers took the ring, and Shaq took his second straight Finals MVP. Guess the answer got his answer.
You love him as well?
All right, I'm right back at him, man.
Relax! Don't push it!
Hey, man, he was in my face.
I'm in your face. Brian Earl Spillner. Sounds like a serial killer name. Is that what you are?
No, man.
Don't come around here again.
Oh, what is that?
Whoa.
Dave, right, that is it.
What's going on?
Put my stapler inside the jelly again. That's the third time he's done it. It wasn't even funny the first time.
Why has he done that?
Told him once that I don't like jelly. Don't trust the way it moves.
Yeah, you showed him a weakness. He pounced. You should know about that.
Remembering one thing above all else.
I want you to know my real name. It's Chihiro.
Walt Disney Studios presents a Studio Ghibli film. Experience a magical movie phenomenon embraced by all the world.
Let's go!
This fall, prepare to be spirited away.
Pedaling toward the end of July, Lance Armstrong won his third Tour de France in a row on the 29th. Armstrong would go on to win 7 straight Tour de Frances throughout the early aughts, bringing new widespread recognition and admiration to the sport of cycling. However, the good times would not continue to roll, as Armstrong was eventually implicated in a huge performance-enhancing drug ring.
I view this situation as one big lie that I repeated a lot of times.
He would be stripped of all 7 of his Tour de France wins and banned for life from competitive cycling on October 22, 2012.
You are Amelia Mignonette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia.
Me? A princess? Shut up!
Beg your pardon? Shut up.
Your Majesty, in America, it doesn't always mean be quiet. Here it could mean wow, gee whiz, golly wally.
Oh, I understand. Thank you.
How's it going, Dave? How am I doing? You're a natural. Hey, you got an oven in there, guys?
When you get that craving for Wendy's bacon mushroom melt.
Coming through. That was close.
With 3 strips of bacon and mushrooms in a cheddar sauce, you just have to get one.
Hey, Dave, come on in. We gotta go get lunch. I'm starting to get the hang of this. He says he's getting the hang of it.
Wendy's bacon mushroom melt. When you gotta have one, you gotta have one.
Alabama Supreme Court Chief Justice Roy Moore made headlines after taking it upon himself to have a monument of the 10 Commandments from the Bible constructed and installed in the Judiciary Building. This 5,280-pound block of granite was installed in the dead of night, without the approval of the other members of the Supreme Court or any other governing bodies, and was immediately challenged for violating one of America's founding principles, the separation of church and state. After 2 years, a lawsuit, and a trial, the monument was finally removed on November 14, 2003, and Moore was booted from the Supreme Court for the first time. Moore would come under fire again in 2016 when he refused to recognize the federal legalization of same-sex marriages in the state of Alabama. He was immediately suspended from office but continued to fight the ruling for several months, until ultimately resigning from the Supreme Court on April 26, 2017. The old "you can't fire me, I quit" move works every time. In the world of music, the life of breakout superstar Aaliyah came to a tragic end when a Cessna 402 twin-engine plane carrying the beloved singer and 8 other passengers crashed during takeoff in the Bahamas, killing everyone on board. She had been filming a music video and was making the trip back to Miami, Florida, when the overloaded plane couldn't maintain altitude and went down 200 feet from the end of the runway. Moving into September, the Williams sisters battled it out in the U.S. Open, with Venus successfully defending her title against Serena and claiming her 2nd straight championship on the 8th. It was actually a doubly historic occasion because it was the first Grand Slam final to be played between competing sisters in 117 years. Sibling rivalries get intense. We can only take about one every century. The world changed forever on a Tuesday morning in New York City in the 2nd week of September. The events of that day exacted a terrible cost from the American people. The national grief and trauma shifted the way American foreign policy was handled over the next 2 decades, and continues to influence policy and legislation to this day. Unfortunately, due to platform restrictions, we can't go into more detail in this video, so we've provided multiple source links in the description if you'd like to learn more about this event.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack. A series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
In the wake of the first foreign attacks on U.S. soil since Pearl Harbor, President George W. Bush issued a declaration of war on terror while addressing a joint session of Congress on September 20th.
Our war on terror begins with Al-Qaeda, but it does not end there. It will not end until every terrorist group of global reach has been found, stopped, and defeated.
The war on terror would come to describe nearly 2 decades of global conflict among multiple nations, with estimates of over 4 million lives lost and displacement of over 38 million people.
Today isn't just any other day. It's my first day. I'm the man.
And if they had to do it all again.
And 4 years of pre-med, 4 years of med school, and tons of unpaid loans have made me realize one thing.
Good. Could you go drop an NG tube on the patient in 234 and call the attending if the lavage is positive?
I don't know jack.
On October the 5th, British-born American photojournalist Robert Stevens became the first victim in a string of anthrax attacks that rocked the nation. Envelopes containing the deadly substance were mailed to the New York Post, NBC, CBS, ABC, and the National Enquirer, with letters stating, "Death to America, death to Israel, Allah is great." The FBI eventually came to the conclusion that the note was a red herring, and that the actual perpetrator was an anthrax researcher and biochemist named Bruce Ivins. However, there are differing opinions as to whether Ivins truly was guilty, and the one person who did know for sure, Bruce Ivins, took his own life in 2008. A multinational invasion force, led by the United States, entered the Taliban-ruled country of Afghanistan on October 7, 2001.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
The Taliban had been harboring Al-Qaeda and its leader, Osama bin Laden, and the United States deemed the invasion necessary to ward off any future attacks from Al-Qaeda or another group, to demand the extradition of bin Laden to America, and to get a measure of retaliation for the events of September 11th.
Our role is to protect America, and that's what we're going to do.
The initial invasion lasted until December 17th, but the continuing conflict in Afghanistan would go on to be the longest war in American history, at 19 years and 10 months, with U.S. forces completing their final withdrawal on August 30th, 2021. 6 days later, Advanced Cell Technology, Inc. successfully created the first clone human embryo. This experiment was run on 8 eggs. Of the 8 eggs, 2 successfully divided in order to form embryos, which were composed of 4 cells. The embryos stopped dividing at this juncture, so it was a far cry from Jurassic Park.
Hello, John. Hello.
But the experiment marked a massive leap forward and yielded a promise of great scientific achievement. But still, no dinos. Speaking of world-changing events, Apple released the first ever iPod on October 23rd.
Pod is the size of a deck of cards. But I happen to have one right here in my pocket, in fact.
Digital music was still viewed as a novelty, but the promise of being able to carry thousands of songs, potentially your entire music collection, on a single portable device had undeniable appeal.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this thing out, and I ain't no rocket scientist, let me tell you.
But the device's steep $400 price tag would keep iPods out of the mainstream for a few more years.
Sir?
What?
Look.
Attention, we have a new scare leader, Randall Barnes.
Slumber party.
Never mind.
I don't believe this.
What?
Teddy Hanlon's in charge of backup.
Is that Campbell's old partner?
Yeah.
Hey, Jack. Haven't seen you since you put my partner away.
Teddy, don't start.
Is your team in place?
Yeah, we're not up here shopping for doctors.
Hey, I don't want a problem on this.
Not one to be left out of the exciting new gadgets discussion, Microsoft released its first home video game console.
First time, let me now unveil Xbox.
Just in time for Christmas on November 15th. Home to such launch titles as Halo, Dead or Alive 3, and Madden NFL 2002, the Xbox and its numerous successors cemented the house that Bill Gates built as a serious player in the video game industry.
Bill Gates, you never cease to amaze The Rock.
Excuse me, who are you?
Rubius Hagrid,
keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. Of course, you know all about Hogwarts.
Sorry, no.
No? Blimey, Harry, didn't you ever wonder where your mum and dad learned it all?
Learn what?
You're a wizard, Harry.
Bastard! Leave Billy alone!
The game is inside the cards. New e-reader for Game Boy Advance. Slide the cards to play some of your favorite games. E-reader comes with a classic game and a sample pack. More games sold separately. Rated E for everyone.
Enron, a massive energy and commodities corporation, filed for the largest bankruptcy in history at the time on December 2nd, after a systemic pattern of corporate fraud and faulty accounting was revealed in what became known as the Enron scandal. The entire company was effectively a pyramid scheme, cooking the books to collect more money from investors, stealing billions of dollars in the process. Enron would be the first of several high-profile fraud-related bankruptcy cases in the early aughts, which led to new legislation around financial reporting in corporations. The Taliban originated in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Despite naysayers indicating that it would be almost impossible to capture the city of Kandahar, it was taken by US-backed military forces. Some say this conflict marked the end of official rule of the Taliban in Afghanistan. However, this would remain somewhat of a false victory, as US forces would remain in Afghanistan for the next 2 decades.
I need a reason. Don't say money. Why do this?
Why not do it? Because yesterday I walked out of the joint after losing 4 years of my life, and you're cold-decking Teen Beat cover boys. Because the house always wins. Play long enough, you never change the stakes, the house takes you. Unless, when that perfect hand comes along, you bet big, and then you take the house.
Been practicing this speech, haven't you?
A little bit. Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed it.
No, it's good. I liked it.
Future Stranger Things star Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting a $5,500 Saks Fifth Avenue bag in Beverly Hills, California. Bizarrely, the actress claimed that she had been researching a role and that the stolen merchandise was part of her acting process. But just like Ryder, nobody was willing to buy that.
I think on December 12th of 2001, you euphemistically reached what would be termed a crossroads in your life.
And she was sentenced to 3 years probation, 480 hours of community service, and $10,055 in fines and restitution.
I feel like someone's looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, they're all nice to your face. That's because they don't want you to know that they installed security cameras this week.
We all go for the blonde. We block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way, and we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win.
After 11 years and $27 million in fortification and remodeling, Italy's famous Leaning Tower of Pisa finally reopened to the public on the 15th. The extensive work was done to give the tower a stronger base and keep it from tipping all the way over. You think after all that time and money, they'd have fixed that lean?
I swore to protect you. Can you protect me from yourself?
I would have gone with you to the end. Into the very fires of Mordor.
I know.
And that's how 2001 ended, with national monuments and epic fantasy providing a brief escape from an ongoing war and an uncertain future. 2002 was right around the corner, bringing with it an Olympics, a Spider-Man, and a Musk. But that's for next year. Coming soon, 2002. So what do you think? What was your fondest memory of 2001? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other timeline videos.